Okay, new episode of AI's Hit. This week, like every other week, we're going to look at the profile of a photographer from the past or present, usually famous, and see how AI, it's a pretext to see how AI understands photography and style in photography. So, again, I will be using ChatGPT this week for the information, Dall-E and Midjourney for the illustrations, and yeah. Let's immediately start by asking AI, could you tell us a little bit more about the bio of the photographer?
He was a Czech photographer, graphic designer, and writer, born in 1900 and died in 1951. He was a prominent figure in the Czech avant-garde movement of the 1920s and 1930s, and was a member of the avant-garde group De Wetzel. He was also associated with the surrealist movement and was a member of the surrealist group in Czechoslovakia. As a photographer, Teige is known for his experimentation with various techniques, such as photomontage, solarization, and double exposures. He also produced a significant number of photobooks and photographic series, many of which were collaborations with other artists and writers. His photographic work is characterized by its focus on the abstract and the surreal, and often explore the idea of the city as a subject. In addition to his photographic work, Teige was also a graphic designer and typographer, and designed many avant-garde books and magazines in the 1920s and 1930s. He was also a writer and essayist, and wrote extensively on art and design. He is considered one of the most important figures in Czech modernism.
So the first pictures, as usual, it's a request to have a picture of someone that looks like the photographer, taking a picture behind his camera, and a photo in the style of the photographer. So not sure knowing who the photographer is. For those who read the title, they already know. Not sure it looks like his style. It's quite generic. Same thing for the first pictures of the presentation where it illustrates his birthplace, the groups he worked with. But something starts to happen when we talk about places where we have those kind of multi-exposures, maybe collage. Again, the pictures we saw was Dall-E on the left, Midjourney on the right. It's kind of subtle if there is something from the photographer. Even also the pictures of the typography rooms and nothing really special. But maybe the two last images, there's something coming out. I'm starting to be curious about what's going to come out of it. There's something in those last two pictures, in my opinion. And so it's Karel Teige. And for this first time, we're going to look at a few originals, simple excerpts, because I really recommend you to go see the original work. Just go through 10 examples of what he did. So he basically did those weird collages, photographic collages, lots of body parts, very aesthetically constructed, obviously surrealist. Really nice, in my opinion, constructions and depictions. Really interesting aesthetically. Very specific style, that's for sure. Let's go directly back to AI and ask AI to tell us a little bit more about the style of the photographer.
Karel Teige's style as a photographer is characterized by his experimentation with various techniques, such as photomontage, solarization, and double exposures.
So the first two pictures, there's maybe some collage, again, Dall-E on the left, Midjourney on the right, some collage in the compositions. Definitely all the pictures coming out are in black and white, so it's kind of taking that into account. There's some tonal shift on some of them that could reflect Teige's work, but not much more. It's not very strongly, let's say, inspired by the photographer, in my opinion.
He also produced a significant number of photobooks and photographic series, many of which were collaborations with other artists and writers. His photographic work is characterized by its focus on the abstract and the surreal, and often explores the idea of the city as a subject.
The two next pictures, weirdly, this time I always do the prompts and try to go forwards with what the AI proposes, but it seems the more I go with the prompts, both for Dall-E and Midjourney, the more those two tools tried to focus on something different. And even so, we feel the multi-exposure on the picture with Dall-E and some kind of collage on the right and surrealism with Midjourney. Suddenly, I had the hope that it would look a little bit more like Teige in the last two pictures of the bio. But here, it's okay, but I don't feel it's very inspired.
He was also a prominent graphic designer and typographer, and designed many avant-garde books and magazines in the 1920s and 1930s. He was also a writer and essayist, and wrote extensively on art and design.
Again here, maybe the Midjourney picture could look a little bit like some of Teige's work, but definitely it's not understanding how to recompose the body of the subject that's in the picture. And for Dall-E, it's kind of a multi-exposure that doesn't really look like Karel Teige. Maybe there's some feeling of surrealism, but quite disappointing.
He is considered one of the most important figures in Czech modernism. His work reflects the influence of the avant-garde movement in which he was actively involved.
And again, like I was saying in the first two pictures of the style, I feel both AIs are kind of moving away from trying to show what Teige's style is. Even so, Midjourney tries to show some kind of collage feeling to it. The main subject seems quite correctly represented in terms of its unicity. The subject, it seems like the same woman in all those pieces. And Dall-E, I don't really know what it's doing there. Kind of weird. The scale of the person, definitely feel they're not naturally put there, and it looks more like a collage, but I don't get it.
Overall, Teige's style was marked by his experimentation and innovation, as well as his ability to create a unique visual language that was in sync with the artistic and cultural movements of his time. His work is known for its abstract, surreal and dynamic compositions and his use of unconventional techniques.
And here it's going still in the same direction for me for those two pictures. Dall-E is trying to show something with a collage, but you're actually having the same representation in a square form, a rectangle form, simply put, disposed on the same page. And Midjourney is kind of going back to what it already did for many artists when we talk about surrealism, kind of putting patterns of collaged geometric forms with a main subject that seems actually untouched, which is not the case as we saw with a few examples of Teige's work. And here again, same thing. I feel like the last two pictures for the style. Surrealism we feel in the Dall-E picture. Teige I don't feel. And on the right, the collage is really kind of explicitly put with those kind of pictures in the sky and those dancers subjected seem to be in weird position, like if we had collaged them. But otherwise, I think it's kind of a failure in terms of imitating the style of the photographer. But as we have Karel Teige, virtual Karel Teige with us, so let's maybe ask for the custom creation. And could we have a photo of two cows roaming the city with futuristic patterns and retro-futurist cars? I'm going to force the prompt a little bit because it was not very successful before. So with some multi-exposure and some collage, and a photo, of course, in the style of Karel Teige. So here I regroup the Dall-E pictures first, 4 of them, and then we'll go to Midjourney. And quite disappointing. I don't know if it actually, I don't know. I've done a few experiments, so obviously I selected like every week the better results, and it's pretty bad. So we do have those weird cows. We see kind of multi-exposure on the right. I don't really feel the collage. It looks like drawing, so it's quite bad in my opinion for Dall-E. Same thing with the two next pictures. I don't know. We do feel some kind of surrealism, and also the framing of Dall-E is kind of too tight as usual from a few weeks back. Let's go see Midjourney. And Midjourney, it's going back to what it does maybe business as usual for it. Those kind of hyper-realistic pictures with some touches of surrealism. We've seen it for other photographers of this basically same school. It's hard to differentiate. The cow is really super hyper-realistic, and in some ways there's maybe some touch in the matter itself of Teige, but I don't know. And here's the last two pictures. Maybe the way the cows are represented, this kind of contrasty, the way the pigment is represented. But otherwise, I feel like it's a little bit off, even a lot off compared to the original work. But anyhow, please post as usual your reactions, questions, what you think of it. And for me, it was entertaining, even so I feel it's completely off this week. But we'll see you next week.